What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one, I want to break down what's going on with the overall market and talk about how the trends are looking so far. I'm also going to talk about some very important supports to be watching for on Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and many other tickers. But before I do anything like this, though, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends very soon, and it's in just about 1 day, so it ends tomorrow. So make sure you guys check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market and how things are looking. So, looking at the charts, we're looking very, very bearish. We're just continuing to sell off very hard. And what basically happened today was the market started selling off amidst some news that came out involving the month of September and some Wall Street balance sheets. Not to mention our very important yields hitting 16-year highs, signaling that there's a potential economic slowdown and even a recession coming very soon, leading to more volatility in the markets. On top of this, with yields rising, we started to see more sellers come in, starting to sell and reposition. And that played another very big role in why the market sold off. So we had all these different factors that played a big role, and we saw this very big domino effect that continued to perpetuate. So the question is, what's happening now? How is the market looking? And where are we likely going to sell off to? Well, with all this data coming out, I also want to remind everyone that the house price index was a little bit harder than expected too. Not the best of signs right now. Consumer confidence was lower than expected. New home sales were very kind of close to expectations, but a little bit lower month over month. And most of this stuff was kind of like flat, but some of the data was not looking that good. Consumer confidence is dropping. So all of these things all just like came together, and they were all just bearish catalysts altogether. And that's why the market started selling off. Anyways, going back to the charts, I want to talk about this now. So on the 4-hour time frame, we're looking really bearish on SPY. We're just continuing to sell off over and over again. And we have this bearish crossover on the PPO that came. It's continuing to just flush down. And we're going to be watching 426 next. Below that, we have 425.8. That's a historical support. And then 425 below that. And then finally, we have 424.5, the other support there. And then if all of those break, if we get below 424, I could see 422.5 next, followed by 420. So those are all important supports. We're looking really bearish. Looks like we're going to see the 425s very soon. SPY is looking just super, super weak. Very aggressive sell-off, especially on the daily charts. And the market is continuing to weaken. So the 4 hours looking more bearish. We're going to be watching these supports very carefully. 426 being the next one that's coming up. We just broke the low of the day, so market's looking weaker. On the 30 minutes time frame, the same thing. We're looking more bearish again. We were trying to close our MACD a little bit as we were making attempts to bounce, but we ended up failing at this key resistance, and we're continuing to look weak on SPY. So watch the supports very carefully. The 5 minutes looking no different. We're continuing to sell off very aggressively. So watch supports. Just know the market is very bearish, and watch 426, 425.8, 425 flat. 424.5 is another support. And if we break below 424, we're likely going to see 422.5. And if that breaks, 420 is on the table. So those are all supports to watch for. When it comes to Tesla, this is also starting to look more bearish on the 5-minute time frame. Tesla was green for a large part of today, holding up quite decently. But as Tesla started pumping, this thing ended up forming this divergence right here as we hit this top. So this is like a liquidity grab before they started to let this thing sell off with the markets. Looking at the 4-hour time frame, Tesla's also still not looking that great. It's been selling off. Not as bad as like other tickers out there. Tesla has some relative strength. We just barely got this. We almost got this bullish crossover with a very bullish trend that formed. But we ended up failing to get that bounce. So Tesla's looking a little weaker. Currently, we're going to be watching 244 on Tesla. This is the supports testing at the moment I'm speaking. Below that, we have 242.5 potentially being tested. Below that, we have 241.67, the low of the day. And if we break below that, I see 240 and 238 as supports. Make sure you watch those very carefully. Tesla is looking quite a little bit weaker, but not as weak as the overall market. It was actually holding up quite nicely in the beginning. But for now, watch it carefully. Aapl is also looking weaker. We have 172.5 as our key support. It's continuing to sell off. So if we zoom out of the chart, I just want to mention that zooming out, we have this support right here off this important structure. Now we have this, head and shoulders like pattern that could take Apple all the way down to 171.7. If we break below the low of the day, I think it could get very close to 171.7 or very close to that support. That's on the table for Apple. It's continuing to look weak, and we're once again getting very close to some major support. It's still looking weak at the time I'm recording this though. On the QQQ, it's also looking weak. We were talking about if this thing broke below 357, we have 355, then 354. That's where we have a very critical support. If 354 fails us, there's 352.5 followed by 350 on the QQQ. Those could be tested if we continue to sell off aggressively. And it looks like we may lose 354 very soon as we're starting to see tech slow down. So watch this thing get very close to, well, technically we could try to hold 353.5, but it's not going to be as strong as 352.5. So there's going to be more selling coming. Be very careful. Nvda made an attempt to bounce. You guys can see it was trying to bounce, wanted to push up, came very close to our target of 430, but then it ended up failing, and the market started dragging it down. And could this be forming a cup and handle? It's a possibility, but as of right now, I'm not really worried about that, especially if we start turning on the 4-hour chart. Nvidia is looking weaker. We're barely at 420. If that breaks, we're going to be watching 417 around that area, 417 zone. Below that, we have 415, 411, 409, and the list goes on. Nvidia had a bearish divergence. This was a liquidity grab at the same time. So, it's looking a little weaker. We're going to be watching 420 for now, and then watch the other supports I just named. Now on the VIX, this is very interesting. The VIX had a triple bearish divergence. This technically, let me just double check this. This technically hasn't fully played out just yet. It could develop into a quadruple bearish divergence. It's still taking time to develop, so it's not necessarily done yet. Typically, when you get to the triple, they tend to play out, but it's not necessarily done. The VIX is still pumping. So with the VIX pumping still, the market is not necessarily ready to bounce, and the market is still selling off. So it is what it is. And the dollar is at 106 plus now. It's continuing to break out. There is a triple bearish divergence on the dollar, but the dollar is not ready to curl yet. It's still looking more bullish, making higher highs and higher lows, continuing to uptrend as the market is weakening. So with that said, guys, hopefully this video was as clear as possible as to how things are looking. We're very, very bearish looking still. We're just continuing to flush down. So watch our supports very carefully. We're approaching 426 on SPY. Don't forget the next levels that are coming up and do what you have to do. I want the best for everyone. I hope you all take care, and I hope you guys manage risks very accordingly in a market like this. The market can be very brutal sometimes. Sometimes it does things that you're not going to expect. Sometimes technicals are not always perfect when you have a new factor coming in, such as yields making big shifts based off new sentiment. But when things like this happen, the best thing to do is always be prepared and always be ready to adjust accordingly based off what's going on. And I just wanted to make it as clear as possible and as honest as possible. Be safe, everyone. Do what you have to do, and then watch your supports. Thank you for listening. Have a good one, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you, and peace out.